Breaking news tonight, meltdown for the Republican plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. Doomed to fail, the Speaker pulls the bill. An embarrassing defeat for President Trump. Tonight, the fallout, the blame game, and what it all means for millions. Surveillance backtrack. Those new revelations about the Trump team, they might not be what was first implied in that bombshell announcement. Scorched earth, wildfires blaze a path of destruction, and tonight a new threat, violent storms moving in, weekend danger across a big part of the country. Harrison Ford's scare, we're hearing what the movie star pilot said when he realized his shocking mistake. And inspiring America, a wounded warrior overcoming obstacles and living out his dream. Nightly News begins right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. The signature Republican promise to repeal and replace Obamacare is down for the count tonight. President Trump and House Speaker Ryan throwing in the towel. A stunning outcome as late today Ryan pulled the bill moments before the vote in a bitter acknowledgement that it was certain to fail.
I will not sugarcoat this. This is a disappointing day for us. Doing big things is hard. All of us, myself included, we will need time to reflect on how we got to this moment, what we could have done to do it better.
Minutes after Ryan spoke, the president himself facing cameras and pointing fingers in the Oval Office.
We had no Democrat support. We had no votes from the Democrats. They weren't going to give us a single vote, so it's a very difficult thing to do.
The president speaking as if it were Democrats, not Republicans, who hold the majority. And while he's correct that there was no Democratic support for the bill, it was the president's inability to bring together members of his own party that delivered the knockout, leaving Obamacare the law of the land. Our coverage starts with NBC's Hallie Jackson.
The party in power divided when it mattered as Republicans revolted against compromise on something 7 years in the making, getting rid of Obamacare.
Perhaps the best thing that could happen is exactly what happened today.
But 63 days after he signed one of his first executive orders starting to dismantle the health care law, the president, in the end, unable to close this deal. His biggest political defeat yet, but not to him.
I think that this is going to end up being a very good thing.
House Speaker Paul Ryan clearly disappointed.
I spoke to the president just a little while ago, and I told him that the best thing I think to do is to pull this bill, and he agreed with that decision.
Obamacare right now remains the law of the land. Is that going to change in 2017?
We did not have quite the votes to replace this law, and so yeah, we're going to be living with Obamacare for the foreseeable future.
Republicans are now left to reflect on how this all fell apart in a day that started, sources close to the president say, with Donald Trump insisting negotiations are over. Time to vote.
We'll have to see.
At roughly the same time on Capitol Hill, lawmakers delivered fiery speeches.
Vote no. We can do better.
This bill is a travesty, and the American people will pay the price.
By midday, the scoreboard looked grim. 34 Republicans opposing or leaning against the bill, 12 more than the GOP could afford to lose. At 12:30, the huddle. House Speaker Paul Ryan meeting with President Trump at the White House with a subdued Sean Spicer an hour later on preemptive defense.
The president and the team have left everything on the field.
The players scrambling all afternoon with the vice president leaving a closed-door meeting meant to sway the very conservative Freedom Caucus.
Mr. Vice President, do you think you have the votes?
Mike Pence had hoped to win over that voting bloc with negotiations like cutting back mandated coverage. But every concession to hardliners meant risking the support of more moderate Republicans. Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows, tight-lipped.
This is more about really our nation, and it's serious, so I don't want to make any more comment.
By 4 p.m., game over. House Speaker Paul Ryan pulling the bill, the backlash, and the blame game just beginning.
The losers are Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, because now they own Obamacare. They own it.
Those party leaders instead celebrating what they called a win.
Today, a victory for the Affordable Care Act, more importantly, for the American people.
For the Democrats, it's more motivation to keep fighting against plans to dismantle Obamacare. For Republicans, it's a shift now to focus on tax reform and a potentially painful lesson in what Paul Ryan calls the growing pains of governing. Lester?
Hallie Jackson taking us to this dramatic day. Hallie, thanks. Now to the fallout for the president and Speaker Ryan as the failure of their health care plan unsettles the Republican Party. The fierce internal battle now shifting to a blame game behind closed doors as thoughts now turn to the future of the president and the Speaker's agenda. For that, let's turn to NBC White House correspondent Kristen Welker.
Publicly, the president putting on a face of party unity.
I want to thank Paul Ryan. He worked very, very hard. I will tell you that. He worked very, very hard.
But behind the scenes, the finger pointing has begun. Sources close to the White House tell NBC News the president wanted to pursue tax reform first, but Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, his vice president, and House Speaker Paul Ryan pushed him toward a health care first strategy. Early this morning, a top aide to the speaker insisting everyone was on the same page about pursuing health care reform. The president tonight
We'll probably be going right now for tax reform, which we could have done earlier, but this really would have worked out better.
Still, the blame game underscoring the enormity of the loss. Does the buck stop with him on this?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, you can't force someone to vote a certain way. I think in the sense that has he done every single thing? Has he pulled out every stop?
It's a big loss for both men. House Speaker Ryan has spent 7 years vowing to kill Obamacare, and Mr. Trump campaigned on it.
Repeal and replace Obamacare.
Now, real questions about whether the two leaders will be able to push other agenda items.
I think this casts real doubt on the entire domestic agenda and their ability to get things done.
But the bigger fallout may be for the president himself, the author of The Art of the Deal, who vowed to break through Washington gridlock and get things done. Today, he came up short.
This is an embarrassing defeat for President Trump and for Paul Ryan on the top Republican priority for the last 6 or 7 years. They couldn't even get a vote in the House of Representatives.
The House Speaker said tax reform will be more difficult after this setback. And there's a realization inside the West Wing tonight. The conservative branch of the Republican Party, which dogged former House Speaker John Boehner and President Obama, isn't backing down just because there's a Republican in the White House. Lester.
Kristen Welker at the White House. Thanks. Let's turn to our political director, the moderator of Meet the Press, Chuck Todd. Chuck, this is one of those days in American politics that will be recalled for years to come. A humbling defeat for this new president and one of his signature campaign promises. But does it really get in the way of what he wants to do going forward?
Well, we'll see. I mean, right now it's a major setback, and his job is to make sure it's not a debilitating one, that it somehow makes it so that all these predictions of doom and gloom on the rest of his agenda somehow come true. I think the question is, what lesson did President Trump take away from this? And what, if you read between the lines, he's trying to blame Democrats, but then he also is quietly admitting he cannot do big things in Congress, the things he wants to do, whether it's tax reform or health care, without the help of Democrats, because as we saw for the last 6 years watching Republicans control the House of Representatives, their small government conservative wing, known as the Freedom Caucus right now, just isn't going to budge in these things. And so Donald Trump is now realizing if he's going to be able to govern successfully, he needs Democrats. Will Democrats work with him? It's an open question.
Chuck Todd, thanks. And of course, Chuck will have much more on this Sunday on Meet the Press. Today, the president did fulfill one of his other campaign promises, his administration officially clearing the way for completion of the Keystone XL pipeline. When finished, it will carry oil from the Canada tar sands all the way to refineries along the U.S. Gulf Coast. Environmental groups say they will continue to fight the project. Tonight, there are new questions about those bombshell revelations from the GOP chairman of the House Intelligence Committee this week, revealing that he had seen evidence that President Trump's aides and possibly even Mr. Trump himself were monitored by the U.S. during the transition. Now he's backtracking. NBC's Peter Alexander has details.
Tonight, the Republican chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, now saying he's not sure if President Trump and his associates were monitored by U.S. spies or just mentioned by foreigners under surveillance.
We won't know that until we actually receive all of the documentation.
It's a dramatic reversal from the certainty Nunes showed dropping this bombshell just 48 hours earlier.
I have seen intelligence reports that clearly show that the president-elect and his team were, I guess, at least monitored.
President Trump at the time saying he felt vindicated.
I somewhat do. I must tell you, I somewhat do.
So given the fact that Devin Nunes doesn't actually know if the president was monitored or whether he was even mentioned, what is he vindicated by?
Well, I think that there has been an acknowledgement that that there are documents out there showing that people were surveilled or monitored to some degree.
And tonight, new signs the investigation into the possible Russia connection that's supposed to be bipartisan is instead breaking down.
He is now interfering in this investigation.
The Intelligence Committee's top Democrat, already upset Nunes, took his revelations to the president before consulting his colleagues, now accusing Nunes of trying to choke off public information by canceling an open hearing with 3 former top officials.
There must have been a very strong pushback from the White House. It's hard for me to come to any other conclusion.
Instead, Nunes announcing the committee will ask the directors of the FBI and the National Security Agency to come back, and that former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort, whose ties to Russia are under scrutiny, is volunteering to be interviewed.
We have people that continue to come forward to provide us information.
An investigation becoming as controversial as the topic it's focused on. Peter Alexander, NBC News, the White House.
While the day's high drama played out in Washington, a lot of the rest of the country may have been wondering what in the world is going on. For more than a year, we've been following voters in a small town in Ohio. Tonight, their take on who's to blame for the health care bill's failure. NBC's Kevin Tibbles has our latest Across America report.
You can't see Washington from Pemberville, Ohio, but the small businessmen and women who struggle to keep this town alive were watching closely. And they've gathered here at the Front Street Cafe to talk about the week that's gone down in Washington. What happened today was a stunner for butcher Bob Frobos, who struggles to afford health insurance for his employees.
I voted for Trump. Probably the biggest reason why I voted for him was the health care. I hoped there would be an improvement in the health care thing. So listening to it all this week, extremely frustrating.
But failing to close the deal is not President Trump's fault, says Carol Bailey. She repairs pianos in town and applauds his ultimatum.
Pass it or you're done. No Obamacare. In other words, he's not taking any more guff from the Congress.
They both point the finger at Congress.
It's like watching pro wrestling, who can insult each other the most and then go out for drinks after the show.
Doesn't surprise me, though. I knew when Obamacare came out, they'd never be able to put that genie back in the bottle.
The Democrat in the group is Laura Landry Meyer, a professor at Bowling Green State University. She's feeling vindicated.
I think it sends a message to the Republicans that they don't have a plan. There isn't a plan B.
The Republicans have complained for 7 years. Now they're arguing they can't get something through.
Waiting on Washington's next move. From an American town craving leadership. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Pemberville, Ohio.
In the South tonight, nearly 14 million people are at risk of severe weather across Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. A powerful line of storms which already tore through the plains is bringing the threat of damaging winds, large hail, and possible tornadoes throughout the overnight hours. Tomorrow, the severe threat will push to the east into Mississippi and Alabama. Meanwhile, across the plains, millions of Americans are under a red flag warning this evening with a heightened risk of wildfires, which have already devastated much of the region. NBC's Jacob Rascone has details.
This wildfire ripped through 60,000 acres near Amarillo, Texas in a matter of hours. The flames finally contained, but not the dangerous fire conditions. Across the Great Plains, massive wildfires have destroyed more than 1 million acres this month alone.
It's a huge hit, and it's something that's going to take years and years to recover from.
Extremely dry conditions have contributed to outbreaks across 8 states this year. Hardest hit were ranchers, losing much of their land and thousands of cattle.
They're kind of like our children to us, every cow, every calf, and that's what's made this so devastating.
But strangers have made the difference. Thousands of bales of hay, feed, and other aid donated from as far as Ohio and South Dakota.
They have made it so that we have the try and we have the fight to want to keep going.
A lifeline for a region in crisis and under constant threat. Jacob Rascone, NBC News.
Still ahead, the new details in actor Harrison Ford's airport near miss. Hear the transmissions from the cockpit moments after the superstar flew dangerously close to a passenger plane. Also against all odds, a U.S. Marine injured in battle making history in his community by realizing a lifelong dream.
Kevin, meet your father.
Kevin.